Saints fans. Welcome back to the Saints TV podcast. What's going on?
Joey's laughing already.
You're laughing already. We're trying to keep this a little bit of a secret because we've got some exciting news. We've got some new things going on. We've got some new sponsors for the show. So we've got some new apparel that we're wearing thanks to the Mornington Peninsula Brewery. But not only that, our first guest of the year and in our 100th episode, we've run through the banner, come into the studio. We've got Leigh Montagna. Welcome aboard, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought for the 100th show I'll be the mascot and run through the banner with you. And
that's exactly right.
Drinking the nice Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah.
I was smiling at the opener. That was a nice little opener.
Yeah,
and then the old re-roll. Remarkable. I like it. I like it.
Original,
that's
that
Joyce's
one,
there. So he's put it together.
But without further ado, here's cheers.
Cheers.
To Mornington Peninsula
and
Brewery.
to, I guess, the 100th episode
100th episode as well.
The
well done, boys.
100th episode. How many specials did we have? We had a few.
Technically,
Oh,
probably
that's lovely.
103, but we did have like a few at the end of the year Christmas episodes. They don't really count.
No.
Right. So what's been the highlight of the 100? Have you sort of reflected now? When you get a milestone, you got to reflect and sort of sit back and say, you know, what sort of was the highlight? Where was the turning point? When did it really sort of take off?
I reckon Sinks, but now we've got you. So
Yeah, I know. I was going to say
Sinks now, Joey.
Depending on how the next 20 minutes go, this could be the
that's
highlight,
exactly
or
right.
probably the
the world's your oyster,
Right,
Joey.
Right.
That's exactly right. I reckon for me, it's probably the pilot. That was good
that
fun.
was interesting.
Getting in and vibing each other, meeting each other in the same room for the first time. That was
that's
brilliant.
it.
I liked the 2020 because we started it in the studio and then like 2 weeks later we were like COVID.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we then did we didn't miss a beat. We did remote potties for like 14 weeks straight. We spoke to like Ahmed Saad. We got Faz Ray on. Cozzy we did as well.
One of the highlights for me was
good.
getting Cozzy in, and we walked into a studio
Yeah,
that we
this is
hadn't
weird.
been
Yeah.
at before, just in the middle of lockdowns. And we get in there, and on the bookshelf, there are 2 AFL records. And they're both from
They weren't
2000.
even record. They were like Sports Illustrated
Yeah.
or something, but like an Australian home brand version.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You'll never find it
they
anyway.
were AFL records
Okay.
because they were the finals footy ones, so they were nice
Oh,
and thick.
yeah, my apologies.
And it's from 2008 versus Collingwood in the semi-final.
Yep.
And Justin was on the front cover
Yeah.
of it.
He would have loved that.
It was ridiculous. And we're
Yeah.
like, nah, this is stupid. Like, this is all lining up too well because we were interviewing him that night via Zoom because he was up in Byron. But that was
random.
It's meant to be, you know. The podcast is just meant to be. These things are meant to happen. Yeah, so unfortunately there's no records tonight.
No,
Joey,
that's okay.
But, yeah, of course. Welcome to the Saints TV podcast.
Thank you.
We're going to ask you a bunch of questions about your career because we are massive Joey fans in here.
Right, okay.
Huge.
I was going to say, like, Jake and I, Marshy was a bit older, but we're talking, you were a big part of our childhood
Yeah.
growing up, like, and being Saints fans, and it was, you know, just seeing you develop over that, like, sort of, like, when Ross Lyon really started coaching and you started to get some regular games under your belt and everything like that, and you started to get some good form, you were everywhere. You were absolutely everywhere, all over the TV, and it was a bit of a Batman and Robin situation. I remember seeing Richo and Brownie with the Batman and Robin of Richmond, and then we had Rui and Joey as our one.
That probably came a bit later, I think, the Batman and Robin. Rui sort of penned that phrase. That was more when all the other... Well, it was actually
Wasn't
funny.
your idea?
No, it was more sort of the back end of our career when all the... Well, we had someone come out called us like the OG gang, when like Lenny and Milne and Bakes, when everyone else had gone, and there was really only Rui and I left sort of through the Alan Richardson era. That's sort of more when I think Rui penned that, because... Before that, we just had a big group that were all really tight-knit, all could play, you know, had a great time together. And just saying that, there was a supporter at the Pracky match early the other day, and must have been about your age, sort of that same vintage, that came up and saw myself, Milne and Jason Blake together, and he called us like the OG Saints. So for him, we're sort of like the original group that, you know, gave some good times for the supporters that are sort of in their 30s, a bit younger. Then, you know, the OG before us is obviously the Harvey, Burke, Lowe, Windmill, that era, and keeps going back through the eras. But no, we had a good group. We had a really tight-knit group that were all good mates, and we're all still good mates now. So we've got some fond memories of that time. So certainly Rui was the figurehead, but for a long time, the Batman and Robin then was Rui and Lenny. It was Rui, Lenny, and then the rest of us, let's be fair. Yeah. So I sort of became that Robin to Rui's Batman towards the end of the career.
Okay. Just, for me, as much as Batman and Robin, I feel like you could take your pick from Lenny and Rui as the Batman. But
yeah, true.
Yeah, but I just felt like you were putting it inside 50 so much that just became your role? Like,
Well,
we're talking records now.
yeah,
aren't we?
well,
Yeah.
we're talking about, you know what, Rui did make us look good. We always had a bit of a joke that if you're in doubt, just kick it to Rui,
Yeah,
and like he'd
something
make you
happened.
look good,
Yeah.
you know. So it was always a bit of a get out. So it was probably a bailout for me a lot of the time. Just kick it long,
They were
kick it as long and
bombs.
as far as I could, and bomb it as far as I could to Rui, and he'd do something and it'd make me look good.
That's definitely how you cement your spot in that team.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's right.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, excellent. I reckon we'll chat now. We've got a few stats.
Yeah, this is usually towards the end of the show, but I'll start early.
Right.
I reckon we'll kick off with this.
Yeah. Well, I've tested out Farron Rain. He was remarkable with
Yeah, he was too good, actually.
Like, he watches his highlights too much, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
He got everything right. Some really obscure ones as well. I've got some standard ones, so I'm thinking you'll get those.
Okay.
There's a couple towards the end there I don't think you're going to get, but...
I don't have a great
No.
memory. I am one that's pretty ordinary with remembering stuff. I always need to be around the other boys to bounce off because I do struggle, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, you say that, but you probably get all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Most disposals.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's easy. No, that's that's the 47 against Fremantle.
Yeah.
The last round of the year, see the year?
Yeah. What's the year?
2014, 15?
Ooh, close. 2013.
2013.
So, not bad.
Yeah.
Most
Well, that should
goals.
be a pretty memorable game, shouldn't
Well,
it?
that
'Cause
was- was
the
that...
three OGs retired.
Yeah.
That's right. That was the
Yeah.
memorable part about that
When-
game. That was
Yeah.
probably
yeah.
that game, not because of the possession, but it was the most memorable. It was the most enjoyable game of footy I played in regards to actually being able to enjoy a game. Because normally
Yeah.
you're so in the moment and you're stressed. But that game, because we couldn't play finals, there was nothing on the line. But because of the retirement of Milne, Blakey, and Cozzy, we could actually just enjoy playing.
I felt like that as a fan.
Yeah,
I remember,
definitely.
like, I don't think I've felt like that for a long time, but sitting in the stands and just enjoying those blokes run around for the last
Yeah.
time. And then we happened to just be flogging a decent Freo side,
Yeah.
which was just a bonus.
Yeah.
And then Cozzy getting his goal taken away, that kind of ruined it.
We had that moment we all got the jump
Yeah.
on him.
That's it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he goes, you can't take that away
Yeah,
from me.
exactly.
You've
That's
still got that
exactly
moment.
what he said when we had him on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most goals you'll get pretty
Yeah,
easy.
it kicked 5 against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yep.
What year?
2010?
Yeah, and round?
Nah, round mid.
No, I'm going
It was mid round 13.
10.
Round 10.
Close. Most bounces. Now, Farron Ray was actually quite high. I was amazed how many bounces in a game
Not
he
only
had.
that, did he answer it?
But he also got it correct.
Yeah.
So
It was straight up.
no pressure, but
I reckon
were up there.
I had like 17 bounces in a game against Richmond at the MCG or something like that.
I love that he's like, I reckon it could be this, but
No,
you've
I don't
actually-
know that for sure.
but
Is that
you've
right?
Nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Because I remember looking at the set, because what happened is,
17,
as the
that's crazy.
game evolved, and now we
Yeah.
see what the game is now, I reckon there was one year where I had like 17 bounces in a year, because you just didn't get the chance to run, because team defences would come and press you and close you down, so you just
Yeah.
didn't get the chance to run and bounce. And I remember someone talking about, having the same amount of bounces in a season as I did in a game only a few years earlier, and that's how much the game changed from everyone playing man on man and being able to run up and down the wing to all of a sudden the compact sort of press and zone that everyone played.
yeah.
How many major changes would you say happened throughout your career in terms of style of play? I know it's a tough
I think it's
question.
just the one. I think it's really just the one change when
Yeah.
the game went from being basically still man on man, which we got to play in through that sort of 04, 05 era when we still had Harvey and Gehrig and all those guys. And as we said, you could run and bounce on the wing, and your opponent would run away if you were running away from the ball. And then really it started with Clarko's cluster in 2008. He was the first one to bring in a bit of a zone.
Yeah.
And then obviously St Kilda, the reason why we had that such a good year in 2009 is we took that to the next level, being able to zone off and play a team defence rather than one-on-one. And then Collingwood, I think, took it to another level in 2010 where they played a zone but really pressed the ground and compressed it. And then that was sort of the evolution of the whole team defence that we see now,
Yeah.
where you don't necessarily just run around and follow a man anymore. You hand over, you cover and protect space, and that's why the game probably still is in that phase, and that's why they've brought in rules in the last few years to try and open it up, because defences for too long were able to sort of control the game.
Yeah. Now, as footballers, physically, you're all capable. You're all capable. But is there a big mental side to it as well? Not in terms of emotion and everything like that, but just understanding what the team is trying to achieve in terms of structures and new gameplay and everything like that. Did it take the whole team a while to figure out, or do you think the whole team was pretty mentally sound in that respect and went, okay, I reckon we can make this change almost immediately? And how much of that is up to the coach?
Yeah, that's the coaching. That's the art of coaching is is getting everyone on the same page and understanding everyone's got a different level of learning capabilities. So some guys that are footy heads, and I was sort of one of them, could pick up things straight away and was a bit more involved in. I enjoyed the tactics and the opposition meetings, where some other guys, like a Stephen Baker, it was as simple as you got, but just give him one instruction and he'll do it.
Yeah.
So the art of the coach is to be able to get everyone on the same page, but understand everyone's capabilities of what they can learn and how they learn.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of coaching, and then you buy in as a team, and once you get everyone on the same page, then that's when the magic can happen.
Yeah, and would you say it was the most concise in that sort of Ross Lyon period from 2007 to 2011?
Spot on. Yeah,
And
everyone, and there's an element of the selflessness and everyone playing their role and all those things, which again the coach has to sell. But once you start winning and you're seeing it work, it becomes easier to do.
Yeah,
and it just sort of evolved and grew, and and we're able to achieve some pretty good things on the field.
Because I felt like as a team at St Kilda, that happened pretty quickly with Brett Ratton in 2020, especially being at the hub where everyone was kind of forced to be a footy head and you were around each other all the time. So you're probably talking to each other all the time about, the gameplay and the stats and where you should be on the ground, and you can't really avoid it. And we really gelled over that. But I think we lost that coming out of the lockdown, and it made it really hard, I guess, on Brett Ratton to be able to get the gel back together and really glue the team together. But did you see that as well in the progression of St Kilda? Did you kind of feel, okay, now they're on to this style of play, this is reminding me of
the group with Ratton?
The group with Ratton back in 2020.
I think it's a strange one because of that whole COVID period, everyone adjusted differently, and it did feel like all the talk was that the Saints did really handle the hub life better than some other clubs. I mean, there were some clubs like the Bulldogs or a few teams that you heard really struggled in the hub, or Richmond had their issues, even though they were still winning. So the Saints, it sounded like just enjoyed each other's company, and that's probably part of the Saints group, and I'm sure we'll sort of touch on the group soon. But they all got on really well. They're all good mates, so that maybe helped them in that environment, and that was why they'll probably able to play some good footy that year.
Yeah, definitely. Have we got any more interesting stats there? I can
Good
see a couple
segue
there. Yeah, thank you.
Funnily enough, that game where you had the 17, Gary kicked 10 that day as well.
Right.
That was that day.
Yeah, okay.
Against the Tigers when we won by 100. So there were a few big milestones there. And then the last one, most hit-outs.
This is a good one. Because there's a good story behind this one. So I had a hit-out in a game.
There was actually a couple of games where you had a hit-out.
Yeah. Was there more than one game?
Yeah, there was about 3 or 4.
So there was what year was that? No, you got
the one I've got here is
2015.
Yeah.
So I had a bit of a running joke that year with the ruck coach, the midfield coach, that there was the only stat I really hadn't ticked off. I wanted to get a hit out before my career ended. Like, it was a bit of a challenge for me to get I had to have it on the stat sheet, just one hit out.
Yeah.
So I had a bit of a bet with our ruck coach that I could get a hit out at some stage throughout the season. And I waited for my moment and the opportunity. I don't know how it arose, but I just thought I could see the opportunity to come over the top, get up and get the hit out, and I got it. And I actually celebrated as the ball left the air and went. I jumped up and down and did a big. They boys showed it in the review. The midfielders got it together, and you could see in the background like the ball's left the stoppage and everyone's playing, and I'm there out on the wing with my arms in the air because I knew that I got my first ever hit out. So it was something I wanted to just to tick the box and get that stat.
That's incredible.
I want to see this now. What game was
I gotta
it?
go. That was I think that was against West Coast in the last game of the year. In round 23.
Was it over there or was it here?
I have no idea actually. Last game of the year.
No, was it? There was a game.
Was there another game you're referring to? That's one.
Yeah, I think it was a game at Marvel. I think
you got greedy and you went with another few games. And
I do it again. I got a bit confident. got a bit carried away. Started being the third up in the ruck. I think that's why they changed the rules because of me. I started exploiting it. So
Joey's law.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
Joey's law. We're going to change it. Yeah.
Like the original Sean Grigg.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Who was it that kicked all the behinds from fullback? Deliberately?
Joel Bowden.
Yeah, you are the Joel Bowden of tap out. Congratulations,
that's right.
Mate.
Change the rule.
You've written yourself into folklore.
I would have freaked out though if the coach had to put me in a centre bounce. I don't know who would want to be a ruckman.
It is
ridiculous. Stupid.
Tough gig.
Yeah. Who was it that said I'm
Unenjoyable.
not throwing? Like they said, why doesn't so and so play in the ruck? And he said, I'm not getting a Ferrari to plough a cane for.
Yeah, that's right.
Did someone say that about when people said put Max King in the ruck?
Yeah, spot on.
Probably.
Same
Why
thing,
would
and
you
that's
do that?
probably where I heard it.
Yeah.
Same thing. No, save him.
Use the battering rams.
Like, I don't think I saw Rui in the ruck ever.
No, exactly right. No,
Even in the
no
full
way.
line, I don't remember really many he would have done.
No.
Would have been Cozzy.
He wouldn't
I
have. Yep,
assume.
Cozzy would have done the heavy lifting, or Jason Blake, or someone that could handle copping a few in the ribs, but not the Ferrari, not Rui.
Not Batman.
Not Joey.
I've got another one that I'm curious about. We talked about this with Cozzy, and he had a fairly straightforward answer, but 04, 05
Yep.
versus 9 and 10, if they were to verse each other. I've always been curious because they're literally polar opposites. One's attacking, kicking 15, 16 goals a week.
Yeah.
Defensively pretty good, but obviously not as good as 09, 10.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
It's a great question. Haven't thought about this, but I think the defence of 09 and 10 would have stifled the ball movement. Fraser Gehry wouldn't have been able to kick 100 goals in 09 or 10 against us. And that's part of, but really it's two separate eras. So that, as I was saying before, that 04, 05, our game plan, this is true, our game plan was QID. That was it. Quick, inside, direct. It was move the ball quick, go through the corridor, get it down to the forward line of Gehry, Hamill, Rewalt, Milne, Kaczynski, Lockett and Guerra. It was like awesome, and it was just go as quick as you could. But then by 2009 and 10, there's slow play, fast play, ball moving out of the back half. It became really tactical, and the defence was dominant. So what we understand with footy is defence would always beat offence most times. So I think our defence would have held up, but geez, I would have liked to seen Zach Dawson playing Fraser Gehry.
If you get some of the matchups, like they'd be pretty intense.
Yeah. But that 04-05 team was stacked. There was a game on not long ago on Fox Footy against Brisbane. The final game of the year when Milne kicked 11 straight.
Yeah.
And I was watching that game and I was just giggling to myself like how good that footy was. It was just going in one side, going out the other. We'd kick a goal, we'd go back to the middle. It was amazing.
I don't know how we didn't kick 200 that day.
Yeah.
And against Carlton in 04 as well.
Yeah.
So close.
So we touched on it, like in terms of like the most fun games as supporters, the 13 retirement game, that would be up there, as well as that Brizzy party game.
100%.
Brizzy party game, and I've got one for you as well. And this is what I think when I think Leigh Montagna, especially in the sun's setting on your career in 2017, and then we come out against Richmond, who are red hot.
Oh yeah,
and at
that was a party
halftime, the
game.
scores are 92-10. Was that also an enjoyable game of football, or was it like, shit, we got to keep going because who knows what's going to happen?
In hindsight, that was probably the worst thing that happened to the club that game. No, I'm being serious because what happened is, because of that performance, from that moment on, if you remember, I think we ended up being about 8th or 9th on the ladder. Richmond were about the same. They were 7th. We got within a game of Richmond. From that game that we ended up pumping them, they didn't lose a game and went on to win the flag. We ended up winning 2 of our next 9 or something like that.
Yeah, because I think we got flogged the week after.
I think we literally played Essendon on the Friday night, I remember.
We only won 2 or 3 of the rest of the games of the year. But what happened is it was a turning point because the club overestimated where the list was at. And they thought that we were ready and we were in a position that the young guys were ready to skyrocket. And I think a lot of it was based off that performance because you go, geez, we've beaten one of the best teams in the comp. But it was more of a one-off game. And I think that was the turning point because from there we sort of fell away and, Rui and I retired and the club thought that they didn't need us anymore because we had young players coming through. And then obviously 2018 was a horrible year. And Richmond went from strength to strength. There's a good story about that game that the Richmond players tell, and I don't know how true it is, but I've heard them say that on the Monday, Richmond went in for their review, and they thought that Dimmer Harvey was just going to rip through them, because they played. So Damien Harvey put a tape on, and he played the Harlem Globetrotters, and he said, "See the Harlem Globetrotters? That was the Saints. See the Harlem the other team just sort of pretends to defend." He goes, "That was us," and almost made light that it was just one of those one-off ridiculous games. That everything we touched turned to gold, and Richmond couldn't do anything right that night. And whether that's true or not, but it's a great little analogy because it just made them just go, "Yeah, you're right. Like, let's forget about that." Where for us, it ended up, I think, maybe giving a bit of a false read on where that group was at, and we weren't able to sort of continue on the trajectory from that game. But you're right, that first half was just ridiculous. As we said, everything we touched turned to gold.
It was ridiculous. From 50,
which was ridiculous. I was getting towards the end of my career, couldn't kick over a jam tin, and even I was able to get a couple from outside 50. So
something in those footies. And you touched on it before, your retirement coming out of the end of that season, and you say that game was probably detrimental to it, because they thought, this young talent coming through has really got the goods, and we're going to go on and upwards from there. 2018 couldn't have been more different. We really, really fell off the ball there. And from a fan's perspective, we go, okay, well, we've obviously lost 2 of our biggest leaders in yourself and Nick. And Nick came out on the Dylan Friends podcast and he said, I got the tap on the shoulder. I didn't want to retire, but I got the tap on the shoulder. Was it much the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But in saying that, to be fair, 95% of players that retire get tapped on the shoulder.
Yes.
No one really... The only player I think I've known in my whole time that actually chose to retire was Lenny. Lenny was asked, I think, to go on one more year, and he said, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I think even Robert Harvey in, like, end of 2008, and he was, like, 38. I think there was even an element of him where it was like, Harves, at some point you got to stop, man. You know? So I don't even know if that was... But, yes, but nearly everyone gets tapped. So it's not unusual. So when everyone says they retire, because every player thinks they can keep playing, because you're a high-performing athlete, and, you always sort of think you can. But, I remember Alan Richardson coming to my house and was waiting to sort of find out what was happening with the contract and sat me down, and when he sort of rang and said, can I come over? That's not normally a good sign.
Yeah.
But there was that conversation that, he felt Savage and Webster and, Bailey Rice and Brandon White and all these guys were ready to take the club, and they were going to play half back and that sort of thing. So, which you understand, that's the reality of footy.
Yeah.
So I probably thought I was playing well enough in 2017 to still have a role in 2018. But as you said, 2018 was that bad a year. I look back and I'm probably glad I didn't, because if I was still playing and we were losing all those games, they could have, made me play in the twos, or it would have just been a really unenjoyable year.
Yes.
In 2018, and that would have been a sour way to end. So, you look back in hindsight, but that's the reality of footy.
Yeah. All right. We've talked about the end of the career. Let's talk about highlights of the career. We've talked stats. The most accomplished you felt as a footballer, where did that come from? And did it come? Because I know for a lot of footballers, they look back in hindsight and they go, I didn't get the premiership. I didn't feel complete.
Yeah.
Was there a point in your career where you're like, now that I look back on this, I'm bloody proud?
Yeah, I can, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's two parts. The team aspect of not winning the flag, but all you can ask for with anything in life is that you give your all, and you can't guarantee any success, but you can just give yourself the best chance. And that's what we've always described about our group, is we gave ourselves the best chance to win a premiership. Now, whether it's, Tom Hawkins hitting the post or missing a couple of goals in 2009, a bounce of the ball and some luck in 2010, which you can't control.
Yeah.
But we gave ourselves the best chance, and the group could look each other in the eye and say we gave our all. Even in those two games, really. I mean, our effort in both grand finals were huge. It just didn't fall our way. So I'm comfortable, and I probably adapted quicker than some of my teammates who really struggled to say we gave our all. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
You can't control the outcome. And as a player, I sort of reflected, I'm sort of proud because, it's pretty obvious. I didn't have the ability of Nick Del Santo, and, I couldn't play the way Lenny played, and had my limitations, but I was pleased that I was just able to, I felt, play well most weeks. Yeah. So that's all you can ask. Where your ability, everyone's got different levels of ability, but it's almost just playing to your optimal, every week. And that's probably something for me, where I felt, well, most weeks I played well. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't play like Brendan Goddard or, obviously, Rui and other guys that had different attributes. But for what I was capable of, I was able to sort of perform, most weeks for a long period of time. So that's where I'm sort of proud of what I was able to do.
So your consistency.
That's right. I don't think very often, you guys could probably tell me more used to watch, but I don't think very often I played poorly. I was able to contribute most weeks, and that's all, all you can try and do with.
You were the king of Supercoach. I got told that a lot, I always got asked, I used to play Supercoach a lot. I used to love, because I was a footy head, so I'd maintain. And I used to get to, you got yourself in the team? And I always said, no, I never did. Just the thing I did, I never put myself in. And everyone's like, why? And I'm like, because in my head, there was Daniel Kerr was the same price as me one year. I'm like, Daniel Kerr's way better than me. I said, give me Daniel Kerr every day of the week, or other guys that were the same. I'm looking at some of the pricing, and I'm like, nah, he's way better. So I'd always,
Daniel Kerr's getting tagged.
Well, that's right. I was lucky. I didn't have to get too much attention with Dal and Lenny and a few others. So
What about training wise, like your style? Because obviously I'm tipping Rui and a few of the other boys a bit more intense.
Yep.
Were you just pretty lackadaisical, pretty chill during the week?
My thing with me was I always trained. I hated cross training. So I was a guy, even if I was sore, I would always get out and train.
Yeah.
More so because I didn't like swimming. I'm not a good bike rider. My quads aren't big enough. Yeah. I hated doing the boxing and all the off-leg stuff. So I was a guy that just always got out and trained.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, that just helped and worked. So, and as you get older, you don't necessarily have to train at 100%, but just being out there and getting through the drills and sort of that continuity, I think helped me. So I was a guy that just always liked training. Yeah. I wasn't sort of the most gifted sort of athlete or runner and all that. I wasn't right at the top, so I'd have to work hard in my off seasons to make sure that I did the running program and all those sorts of things. And same with the gym. And that's probably another thing now. I look back when I retire. I hate going for a run and I hate going to the gym. Some other guys love it.
Yeah.
But that made me realise that when I played, I did all that just because I had to, not because I really enjoyed it. I got up and did my running program because I knew it would help me as a footballer, not because I love, busting my balls on a 10K run. Same with hitting the gym. So, I just did what I had to do and was always able to do it, pretty consistently.
Yeah. And do you think that was a big part of breaking into the team when you were younger? So you came in 2003. 2002.
Against the Pies.
Pardon?
Against the Pies.
Against the Pies, yeah. And I remember you being in and out of the side quite a bit. Do you think it was your work rate on the track that really put you in good stead to get regular games, or what was the key element there?
It took me probably 5 years to become. I didn't become a regular till about 2006, so it was 4 or 5 years where I was in and out of the side. Played nearly 50 reserves games, and that was for a number of reasons. One, I wasn't physically ready. I wasn't mentally ready enough, and it was a tough team to break into, and I had some limitations as a player, particularly early in my career. So, for me, I was able to, and I'd probably again go reflect and say, what I was able to do was get better every year. Yeah. So that was, and even as I started playing 06 and then 07 I was better, and then 08 and then 9 and 10. So I was able just to get slightly better every year, whichever it was, physically, mentally, how I played, all those things. So it was just some guys come in, hit the ground running. Luke Ball in his first years hitting the ground running, and Xavier Clark, and other guys take a bit more time. So it just took me a bit longer than the others. But I think in hindsight, held me in good stead. That made me a better player, having to play 50 reserves games and learning to win my own ball and all those sorts of things that ended up making me a better player.
Yeah, spot on. And ended up having 250 plus games, ending up in the top 10. I think we were saying.
Yes. 7th, I think.
Games, all time for St Kilda, which is just incredible, seeing as you were very stop-start for the first 4 years of your career. So that is just amazing consistency over the next 12-odd years, or 10-odd years that you were around. So congratulations.
This is your footy life.
That is awesome. So,
but I reckon you're kind of... we're talking about your career satisfaction and your career highlights, but I think you're a bit of a victim of circumstance by... It's kind of like when you fly business class, economy's ruined unless, you get back on the business. But we're in the season, 2004 Wizard Cup. It doesn't get much better, as the saying.
That was the highlight, wasn't it? The pinnacle.
That was the pinnacle.
The Wizard Cup win. But that was, we had that great team. That was, that's iconic, isn't it? The photo of Lenny and Grant Thomas. But that was my credit to Grant Thomas. Like, he was, all about, this doesn't mean anything. And he's always been big on that he was trying to drive, the next premiership, and he's still quite vocal now, Tomo, trying to,
on Twitter especially.
Trying to, still, trying to strive for the AFL premiership, because that's really what it's all about.
Well, I was going to say, in reality for me back in 2004, we were a kick away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Because I reckon we would have come out the next week against Brizzy at the G.
100%.
Probably. And Brisbane were a bit banged up that year. That was a year they were all a bit cooked, and they had they all got the jabs and all those sorts of things.
So who would have copped the fists from Alistair Lynch? would that have
that probably been Maxie Hudson. Maxie and him would have gone toe to toe, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and I reckon Maxie would have landed one too.
Yeah, I reckon they did.
In round 6, they had a bit of a biff, and then we kicked a goal, and I remember he went right up to him.
Right.
And mouthed that's your goal.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it.
What was he like as a teammate? Because we haven't really touched on Big Maxie, and he was my mum's favourite.
Yeah.
She loved Maxie Hudson. Every time that he wore the number 8,
he was iconic.
Field, she'd be there.
Yeah.
She loved him, and she even cried in 2009 when he retired. So a big favourite. What was he like as a character?
Oh, terrific! Yeah, he was great. I mean, he bled the sort of red, white, and black. So, the group that that we all grew up playing for with. But we were so lucky to have those they were our OG Saints guys before when we first started. So, Peckett and Jones and Hudson and, Burke, Lowe, Harvey, we had all them for a couple of years. So we were able to, that's why we were sort of able to sort of learn about, Saints culture and, what it meant to be a St Kilda player and the passion and all those things. And Max epitomised that, and he was just a guy that hated getting beaten. Like it was like he hated it. So, he was a terrific fullback and he took such pride in his performance every week. That he was one of those leaders that we all were able to learn off when we were young.
Who was the main bloke from that sort of era that you looked up to when you came to the club and when
the one that
would ask for help?
The one that was really great for a few us young was Stevie Powell. Powell, he was a ripper.
Powell.
So we talk about those original Saints, but then we had guys like Powell and Hamill and Gehrig and even Brett Voss was really important as well. Yeah. So they came from other clubs, but they were also really good leaders, like driving, the standards and how to train. Aaron Hamill he took sort of like the Rui and Cozzy like group under his wing and hit the gym with them. And Stevie Powell was really good for like myself and Dal, and he got us up. And these are the days when you didn't have development coaches. It was a senior player would do the extras with you. And Powell, he organised for Dal and I to do boxing on a Tuesday morning with him, and the extra gym sessions and all those sorts of things. So he was one that was a really strong leader. Yeah.
What about early days? Were you starstruck at all? Like first couple of years going to the club, seeing some of the boys there? Or?
Not for the first couple of years. We were the first week or two. I still remember meeting Stewie Lowe and shaking his hand and me just like I just turned 18, little pipsqueak, thinking, what the hell am I doing here? It was in awe where I'm like, he was a man, like, and his hands are massive, and I'm just thinking, oh man. So you do for that first couple of weeks, and but then you're in awe. But I mean, even learning from like Robert Harvey, like I remember doing a bike session, stationary bike session, and I think it might have been Dal or I, a couple of young boys, and we thought we're working hard. And then we look at Robert Harvey, and like he was just dripping in sweat, and the pool of sweat at his feet was like off the charts, and we were sort of looking at ourselves. We thought we were working hard, and it was like, no, that's what working hard really looks like. Yep. So all those little things that's why senior players are so important, and particularly legends like that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's sort of where the club's currently trying to get back to a little bit. Even not with the existing list, because obviously we don't have many of those sort of Robert Harvey-esque players around that have been around for 10 years, Brownlow medalists. But more with the coaching, bring back some of your old teammates. Yep. Do you think that's what we're trying to get back to bring that sort of feeling? Yeah,
I think there is certainly a need to have people that understand St Kilda and live and breathe it. And I think that will then breed through to the next group, particularly because so many players in recent years have come from other clubs. And there is maybe that bit of, who's the group that have all come through together and learnt from their previous, the previous group of players and the previous, which we did from the previous group. Now, because there's probably not that strong group that have, I think it's important to have some people that bleed red, white and black just to, try and instill a bit of that in this group. So there's no doubt that was sort of a bit of a focus for the club, which I think is certainly warranted. And that's why, I mean, Grant Thomas, everyone had a different view on Tomo as a coach, but the one thing he absolutely was, he like bled red, white and black. So he instilled what it meant. We were doing working bees with the gym and we're all painting the club rooms together and all these things that just... You're then got a vested interest in the club. You're in the club. You're not just a player that's just there and it's the colours. It's actually you are a St Kilda person. Yeah. And that's why bringing some St Kilda people back like we've got can hopefully sort of feed through, particularly to the younger group that are coming through now.
Yeah. And was that a bit disappointing for you as a player coming through our pretty much most successful period, 09-10, had a great culture, but then that kind of slipped away? Yeah. Does that sort of sting a little bit that it wasn't kind of left behind?
Yeah. I don't think we did that right. After, when Ross left and then 2012, we sort of still had a really strong core group of players that had just played in the grand finals a few years earlier, but very quickly the club, and again, this, if we don't want to get too deep about the history of St Kilda, but why it's been continual failures, it's because of the lack of success. Every new administration or leaders that come into the club want to put their own spin on it. They want to try their own thing because there's no sort of history of success to just keep rolling. Yep. So at that time, we had a new coach and a new list manager that had their own strategy about what they wanted to do, and part of that was letting some of our core group leave, and it didn't work. And then it sort of they end up disappearing a few years later, and then it leaves the club. Well, to pick up the pieces and try and start again, and then the new administration try their way, and in hindsight, and now looking at the way that the really good clubs do it, you can still keep your core group and you can still make change, and you have to. But you could have done it a better way than trying to sort of cut the soul out of the place and thinking that, just going to the draft and getting young players was going to be the difference.
Yeah, because you look at Geelong and Sydney and even Bulldogs too.
Yeah, and Richmond are now doing it. You can keep topping up, but you can still play kids and you can still stay at the top for a bit longer if you sort of had a bit more foresight than just sort of thinking you could just go to the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
Camera's dead.
Lost one of the cameras here.
That's all right.
No.
That's all right. Play on.
We can point that one that way if you want.
We can point that one.
We don't need to look at us.
We don't need to look good. It's about these boys here.
Oh, hey. Here we go.
Aren't you too gorgeous? There we are. Beautiful. What was I going to ask? The move to Seaford.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're talking about ripping the soul out of the club. You kind of ripped the soul out of the club, drained the blood, smacked it down at the end of the Eastlink Freeway.
Yep.
Was that really hard to get used to?
Yeah, and that was all part of it. Yeah, that was part of it. You're sort of moving out of the... and you probably had to move out of Moorabbin because it was so worn down, but the club could have done a better way to get a deal done or, do something else. And then again, that was part of the administration and all those things. So, yeah, we went through a stage where the club tried some things, didn't work, and then, the next lot have been sort of trying to pick up the pieces ever since.
Yeah. And then the move back to Moorabbin.
Yeah.
Back to the heartland, back to the club rooms that you paint. Oh, I mean, it's completely updated now, but it's the same grass that you were training on. The club rooms that you said you painted, that group getting back together at Moorabbin now. Do you think that's a massive part of it?
Yeah, massive. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, of course it is. That's the heart and soul of the footy club. That's the stories. That's the history that they need to feed off and try and, really, the whole thing is being the next group of 23 players to win that premiership. And that's, they've got to forge their own history. That's absolutely, the way it is. But you've still got to be able to, bleed the red, white and black and have that passion and the interest and the vested interest in the club while you're there. Yeah. And being back at Moorabbin's part of that. Getting legends back at the club is part of that, the storytelling and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, post-career, moving into media, was that something that you always wanted to do? That was always an option, or was there coaching? Were there a few other things?
It wasn't always. It just, again, like anything, it evolved as you sort of got a bit later in my career and was, able to get the opportunity to do a little bit of media. And it sort of went from there. As I said, I've always been a footy head. Like, I was always watching footy every weekend. Like, I actually enjoyed playing on a Sunday because I like sitting down on a Friday night, watching Friday night footy, watching footy all day Saturday, and then playing, where a lot of other boys hated playing on a Sunday and those sorts of things. So it sort of was a bit more natural for me to get into it. And, and just kept sort of, dabbling and sort of, trying my hand, and then a bit of luck and, able to make a career out of it, which I'm very fortunate for because, as I say to people, I can't build anything and I don't want to sell anything, and I'm not sure what else I'd do if it wasn't footy. So I'm lucky
you can sell footy, mate. Don't worry.
Well, that's right.
Sell what's happening on the screen.
And that's sort of, Eddie Maguire was good and said that's sort of my degree, is my football career. The 280 games is my degree, so I might as well use that and sort of forge a career post-football, using that degree.
Yep, and family life, got two little ones?
Two little ones, keep me on my toes. So 4.5-year-old and nearly a 2-year-old, and he's just started getting to footy, my little boy Noah, so I'll take him to his first Saints game this year, and he got his first little Saints membership pack and all those sorts of things. So Max King's the only player he knows at the moment, really, so he wants to be Max King in the backyard, but that's okay. I'm sure he's not the only kid that wants to be Max King.
Do we reckon he's going to get to Max King?
He's certainly not. No, he's only little. Unfortunately, no. He's got his dad's genes. He's only little at the moment, so he might have to be a bit more like Caleb Daniel, I think.
Oh, we don't mind that, hey?
Yeah, that's right.
We do not mind that.
I'm trying to get him to kick both feet and all that.
Spot on. Bloody hell.
And we see on the Insta that you got little Florence as well. Yes, see you down there at the women's games and with the kids, and you've cut your teeth with the commentary there, and you've had your sort of Leo Barry, your star from 55 metres, the G train.
Oh,
nailed that. But you clearly got an interest in women's football, and now that we've got our team, and so I'll just be keen to get your view on where you see women's football at the moment, particularly the Saints, and for the fans out there that quite haven't jumped on the train yet.
Yeah.
And where you'd like to see women's football when, if that's Florence's persuasion down the track.
Well, I think it's just, it's like anything. It's just opportunity in life, and it's just, the chance that women can make a living playing football, and why wouldn't they? So, I think it's probably, without even knowing, it's not far away, but being the sort of number one sport in Australia for women in regards to your pay. The new CBA will come out soon, and very quickly you can actually be able to make a career out of playing football as a female soon. So it's a great opportunity, and I'd say I'm not going to knock anyone back from trying to make a living playing footy, because it was certainly something that I loved and was able to do, and very grateful to realise how lucky I was. So to have more people the opportunity to do that, so they should. And if Florence wants to do that, well, I'll be all for it.
Yeah. Have you strapped the boots back on?
I was curious about that.
Post-career?
Post-career.
I've played 2 games.
Whereabouts?
Played 2 games. I went and played. I got a good opportunity to go and play for Ararat through a contact down. It was a big local derby, Ararat versus Stawell. And it was a Good Friday game. So it was a big occasion. Yeah. Had a friend that was a president, got me down there. Played that game, had a good win. Was able to avoid sort of getting hurt or anything like that. And then I wanted to go back and play one game at my club. So I was sort of Marsland boy, Marsland Old Collegians in the amateurs. Yep. My brother was playing, and I sort of just thought it'd be nice, a bit nostalgic to go and play one game for the old boys. So I played one game. My brother actually was injured, so he didn't get to play in the game. I did, but I was cooked by half time. It was fair to say at half time I was like, they go, hey, and I said, no, I'm knackered. I'm cooked here. Yeah. So they were the only 2 games, and never since.
Brilliant.
No.
All right, well, I reckon we might hit a bit of a break now. Do you want to stick it? Well, we've got a segment called Junk Mail. This is where we answer a few questions from the fans about the pre-season. You want to stick around for that?
Let's chat a bit of the Saints this year.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Beautiful.
Righto.
We'll hit a bit of a break.
Jakey's Junk Mail. Jakey's Junk Mail. Jakey's Junk Mail. Jakey's Junk Mail.
We're back. Today, it's Joey's Junk Mail.
It is. He's taking it.
Jackie and Joey.
Far away.
Joycey and Mushy.
I'll skip the first one because it's specific to us. Although it's how are you boys? How was your time off? And I'm bloody ready for the new year.
Yep.
Joey, do you want to answer that one?
That's a bit boring.
Bit boring?
Yeah. That's a bit of a boring one.
Sorry, Sam.
Sorry, Who was it?
That was from Sam.
Sam, thank you for caring about everyone's summers.
Joey's just ripped into it. He could have done a bit better there, couldn't he?
I love it.
So this has got... this is from Joaquin. Thoughts on Max Heath? Could he debut this year? Max Heath, the big ruck. He was all right on Friday.
He showed a little bit. And then he went off a little bit, hurt himself, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he came back and played the second period.
Concern is he might have to play a little bit.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for Rowan. We need Rowan to get through a full season. But touch wood, I know.
Where's Mason at?
He's the only one that's not injured yet. But he might have to. Might have to get a chance, and got to find out about some of these youngsters.
You got to put them out there, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Good attitude.
Got to be ready though.
Yeah.
Got to find out about them, but they've also got to be ready, and especially in the ruck we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, it's
how shocking it is to play in the ruck, especially with some of the ruckmen in the competition at the moment. So the kid would want to be ready, but hopefully maybe we get a look at him at some stage.
You're going to give him some advice?
But I might get out as a bit of a ruck coach and just get that craft.
Did your tap hit a target?
Oh, good
question.
question.
Hit out to advantage.
I think that's important, isn't it? Hit outs are just junk numbers. I'm all about hit outs to advantage.
Hey, we're here for junk.
I reckon it was a hit out to advantage, yes.
What if someone had him in Supercoach and needed like 1 point to win or something? And they've
hit out to advantage.
This one's from Derby. Could Mason Wood play a big role up forward given our injuries and his height? Mason Wood up forward.
He might have to as well. Just with a bit of experience, he's got that capability. It's going to be interesting to see what the team does look like. There's a bit of mail that maybe how do you say his name? Caminiti. Caminiti might get a look this weekend against Essendon, just to see. He did okay, took some marks. They tried Cordy, they tried Dougal Howard.
No.
Caminiti, I think, might get a go. So, he might have to stand up and play some minutes. And Philippou. So Mason Wood, he's got that experience. He might have to roll down there at some stage.
Yeah. To me, he always seemed like the third tall.
He'd be the third,
so he could sneak around.
Yeah.
And that's what happened against Brisbane.
And he kicked 4.
He kicked 4. Yeah, coming down off the wing. as that third tall, and he just found space. Like, I always feel like he's a tall and a small body because he's playing on the wing.
Yeah.
He's got great aerobic fitness, and he's got good hands. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yep. This one's from Harry. Are we skilled enough to execute this fast football out of the D50? I mean, that's a loaded question.
That is a loaded
but-
question. I think the group's skillful enough. There's enough guys. You think about coming off half back with Naz and Sinclair and Brad Hill and Jimmy Webster can kick the footy. There is enough there. It's just finding the balance between going quick but also not running yourself into trouble and making sure that you can find the balance, bit of light and shade, which will be the challenge because we'd certainly want to go quicker, but you just can't run yourself into trouble because then you do make bad mistakes because you're under more pressure. So it's finding that balance, but it's the right way to play. And you just got to find out which guys can execute and see how we go.
Yeah, well, we saw that with Melbourne, didn't we? They were hitting targets from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't miss a target. It was just incredible football to watch and kind of go, okay, well, that's the standard. That's where we need to get to. Who's going to take us there? But, they got blokes that are in midfield who can run it out of half-back and end up with the ball in the forward line. So
That's not just about being good kicks. Like, you need your teammates to move too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
And it's choosing the right
makes
option.
the kick easy.
And it's decision making
Exactly,
as well.
yeah.
Picking the right option.
Yeah.
All those, whether you handball, whether you kick,
Yeah.
all those sorts of things.
Yep. Thomas is wondering, can Higgins and Butler play in the same team?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. They complement each other. A lot of the good teams need those small forwards. They just got to find the balance between their offense and defense. Build it off the back of your defense, turn the ball over, win it back. I think we're going to have to rely on them a lot, particularly early in the season, because we're not going to have the tools. We're not going to have Max there. The instructions from the coaches will be whoever is playing forward, just to not get outmarked and bring the ball to ground. That's why they love Owens. But those smalls are then going to be really important at being able to try and mop up, kick some goals, but also lock the ball in the forward half, not just let it walk out and leave it up to the defenders. So Higgins and Butler are going to have to take a strong sort of leadership role in that forward half and make sure that they can help the team without the tools.
Yeah, because when you played, it was very much Milne obviously being the focus. He was more the dedicated small. He didn't roam into the midfield as much. But then you had Schneider.
But then we had Rob Eddy and McQualter, whose whole role was to pressure and tackle and play their role. So you need complementary parts, and that's where Higgins and Butler just got to find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that question, I always say this about Butler. Some of the goals that he's missed, like, it could be a completely different story. He's kicked a lot of points. And he's kicked a lot of miraculous points, but you move that 6 inches to the right, and all of a sudden he's back in 2020 form again. So I don't think he's lost that much form. I think he's just lost a little bit of ability at the goal front, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. But
Just a bit of confidence.
it could be a bit of confidence, but like, he's still really good on the set shot. It's just that turn and snap. He was hitting it every single time in 2020.
Yeah.
And then from 2021, 2022, he was still doing the same things but missing. So all of a sudden he disappears. So he's still doing the role well. He's just not executing. That's what I say.
Yeah. Damien's asking, how many of the following play in round one, if any? Burns, Caminiti, Bytel, Sharman, Philippou, Heath, Van Ness, and Heimel. I stuffed his name again.
Who? Oh, Philippou. Yeah.
Philippou, yeah.
Philippou.
Philippou will play.
Yeah. He's
100%.
round one.
Yep, he'll play. You got it. This is. I think that we've got to find out about some more talent. We've got to be able to, keep, using these next couple of years as a transition period to get some more talent in, some young talent. Caminiti's a chance to play. There was one other name, maybe Burns, if he's another one that can just play his role, and play as a small forward and do those sorts of things. There's a couple of names there, but certainly those youngsters, they need a bit more time. But there's a few there that should be getting opportunity.
Yep.
Caminiti's actually reminding me a bit attitude-wise of a mature Cozzy, because he didn't like to be messed with. Didn't like to be touched. He liked to be the biggest bloke in the forward line. And I feel like Caminiti's got a lot about him like that. Like, you saw when he was wrestling for that ball with...
the highlight they posted?
With Adam Tomlinson, his first big mark. And it was like, no, fuck off, mate. Like, this is my ball, my footy.
Yeah,
And
you
I
like
think
to see it.
Yeah.
We've missed that. We've really missed that. And that's something that Max King is really learning. And we keep seeing glimpses of it. We saw it against West Coast where he kicked 6, against Richmond where he won the game for us and kicked 4 in the last quarter. We're seeing a glimpse of it, but it's not something that he's born with. I reckon Caminiti is born with it. So he's going to do some damage. I reckon he's going to hit a few bodies this year and take us by surprise. So I'm really excited for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maddie's asking, who do you reckon is our biggest loss due to injury? Which I think we all would probably agree with Kingy on that one.
Yeah.
And the last one, who will have the best improvement from last year under Ross specifically? Who would Ross look at and go, I'm going to turn you into a decent player?
It's a good question.
I've definitely got my answer for it.
Okay, you go
And
first,
it's
Rob, I think.
Because he's now under he's bloody waiting in the hospital wings with the rest of them.
Are you going to say JB?
Yeah, JB.
Jackie Billings.
He was on fire during that practice match. And I know he was up against, a lot of sort of VFL players and whatnot from Melbourne. But he just looks so at home on that half-forward flank with the licence to roam. And it just looked to me like I think that Ross will go, okay, he was a very good role giver. And I think that's where he would shine because he's just been so all over the place with different coaches about where his best football is.
Yeah.
But he was our number one target along with Sharman on the weekend, I reckon. So
yeah, and I've always thought
for
that,
me.
JB playing forward's always been the go. I don't know what your opinion is because you've played with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like JB in the midfield versus JB forward.
Yeah.
I've always said forward, he's way more dangerous.
Yeah, I always thought he was going to make it as that forward, that hybrid Brad Johnson type, kick 3 goals and have 20 touches and could mark above his head and below his feet, but maybe just lost a little bit of that explosiveness. That you got to think about all those forwards, they've got that real power, Heaney and, all those guys that play, Toby Green, a bit more dynamic than maybe JB has sort of become. So, yeah, it was interesting. He sort of needs to find his niche and find his actual spot. But getting back to the question, which players improve, I think it will be the small forwards. I think with, they were the ones criticised a bit for running past the ball and trying to get goals out the back and all those sorts of things, which they won't get away with Ross Lyon as coach. So I think, playing them a bit more honest of both sides of the ball, tackle pressure, but also still getting their shots at goal. I think guys like Higgins and Butler, whether it is another small forward, it might be Burns, might be Brad Hill playing a bit more half forward. I think those guys are the ones that we'll see the biggest improvement because they'll be held more accountable for their defensive side of the game rather than just getting rewarded for kicking goals. And maybe they're the players that might be able to spike the most.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a bit obscure. I agree with all of the above, but I reckon Dukes. I reckon we're getting an all-Australian fullback from Dukes. Ross loves his, dependable, solid 1%ers, and you don't find many better in the comp than Dukes.
Yep. Good one.
Cal Wilkie as well could get close. He was close last year.
Wilkie, he's man.
Well, he's already, probably doesn't have as much up. Like Wilkie's already at a really good level. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of upside to our defence, but of course it's just getting that forward line on the park and seeing what it can provide for us. But is that the end?
That is the end.
That was a pretty quick junk mail.
Yeah, there were a few there. They were a bit. They weren't up to the standard.
Need some more.
After the first one,
we need some more footy to see for the fans to start getting some more. Once they see more footy, then they'll have a lot more questions.
I've got a puppy, and
no one cares, man. No one cares. There's Joey's junk mail.
Joey's junk mail. Joey, thank you so much for coming in.
Legend.
It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I'll get my words right, but it's great having a guest in here that is open to any conversation that we put forward. So thank you very much.
Super last quick one.
Here we go.
I'm always curious. This potty is by fans for Saints fans.
I always had such a great experience with the Saints fans. Like they're just so passionate, and I mean the one that's always funny. Every St Kilda supporter that comes up to me, Joey, I'm a long-suffering Saints supporter. I'm like, no, every St Kilda supporter is long-suffering. You don't need to start. Any Saints fans, you don't need to start your sentence by saying I'm a long-suffering Saints fan. All you got to say is a Saints fan, and we know you're long-suffering because we're all in the same boat. So
100%.
The Saints fans were always great. We had a ball, but now I get to sit out in the outer as a bit more of a Saints fan. So looking forward to taking the young fella and enjoying the game. So thanks for having me. Well done, 100 shows. You do well engaging all the Saints fans, and pretty easy to come on and talk footy. So
good man.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Have a
Been
good
a
year.
pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your beer.
Thank you.
And Survivor.
Yeah.
The Full Monty. Yeah,
I reckon that.
I like
Do you
that
like
on the
that
run
as
street.
the episode name?
The episode
100%.
name, Full Monty.
Yeah.
We're
Full
live,
Monty.
by the way.
Eh?
This
Oh,
is
well,
this
sick.
is all being discussed.
Full Monty.
What do you reckon, Sanus? Was that decent or not?
Yeah, that was decent.
Yeah,
pretty good,
that
wasn't
was. I don't think that can be topped.
No.
That was incredible.
Joey did ask, what's the highlight of the 100 episodes? Right there and then.
Right there and then, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Sinks.
Sinks.
You were bloody good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Cozzy. Sorry, Faz. Sorry, Ahmed Saad. Sorry, Aaron Gox.
Aaron Gox, yeah,
Goxie.
that's right.
Was he our first ever guest?
I
Or was
think
it Faz?
Sardi was.
Sardi,
Oh, Sard?
yeah.
Yeah, I reckon Sard
Yeah.
was.
Well, we got more coming, hopefully.
That's exactly right. There will be more coming this year. I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited for it. I think Joey's just paved the way for it beautifully. Let's chat about the 7 periods that we played against.
Oh, nah.
Melbourne.
I can't do that again.
Wasn't that a farce? Not a farce, but it was such a weird day at the football because it was bloody hot.
Oh, yeah.
That was the hottest game I've been to, I think, nearly. That was hot.
Well, it was like 33 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the 2015 grand final was 33 degrees.
Really?
How crazy is that playing a grand final in that heat? It was like Hawthorn
Actually,
West Coast.
Well, I've done it.
El Nino.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. That
The
was
Yarras, when we won, that was a good 31 degrees.
Yeah, that was
And we
bloody
were
hot.
playing those games at 10, 11 a.m.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
geez.
So
It was a hot
it
year,
was
that
already
one.
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Scorching.
And when we played Dosso's Demons.
Oh, man.
That
I had
was
the long
hot.
sleeves. That was 30.
Boys, tell me a bit about that just
No.
quickly before we...
We can't.
That's about as
I,
unremarkable as the 7 periods of football.
Yeah. If
was
you want to
fucked.
hear about it, I spoke to Caden last week in the lead up to the Melbourne game.
Yep.
And I asked him his honest thoughts about it. Spoke a little bit about Marshy's performance.
Did he say anything
The
about how I
match review?
snapped him?
Yeah, he brought that up. I said, that's Marshy's highlight. It's the only thing he did on the day.
What did he do? What did you do?
He smashed him
Oh, smashed it. Oh, yeah.
and then shanked the kick, didn't you?
Yeah.
No. Well, I
never
did
shot
shake
it.
it. I probably did.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
But it was a good tackle.
Yeah, but I saw... He does the recording around the corner from my house at Producy there. And I saw him grabbing a coffee, so I went, oh, mate, couldn't believe I missed out on it, like with the shattered elbow and everything. And he was like, oh, tell you what, we're pretty worried about the Saints TV boys. They came out hot. They had a bit of X factor there, and then we're like, shit, we actually need to tie up our laces and get on with this.
We need a rematch, but we need a bit of a pre-season and no Rui
I
warm-ups.
put my hand up there. The
Did you
warm-up.
go too hard on the warm-up? That was my one rule at South Yarra. I'm not doing the warm-up. I'm just getting hamstring rub and going out, and the first quarter can be more warm-up.
I think Caden played it nicely because they were stuck in traffic for a
Yeah,
while.
they were very laissez-faire.
From Geelong, and
Yeah.
while they're doing that,
Yeah.
while he's stuck in traffic, we're warming up in 30 degrees, working on tactics.
Yeah, well, that was the Saints tactic under Richo for a while,
we
wasn't
were
it?
probably
To come
doing,
out?
yeah, we
I
were
reckon we
probably doing
clocked 10
circle
Ks
work.
before the game.
Yeah, we're doing circle work while they're
Yeah.
on the Westgate still.
Speaking of the game,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the 4 periods.
Yeah, so the 4 important ones where we
Those-
kind of put our strengths out,
Yeah.
and so did Melbourne, of course. You guys start.
First quarter, I think you narrowed it. You nailed it in the chat because you said it was very much like a Ross Lyon type quarter.
Yeah.
It felt like we were trying to control the quarter. Maybe just try and negate Melbourne from kicking a lot of goals and staying in it as long as we can.
Yep.
Second quarter, I don't think we turned up at all. And that's when Melbourne kicked 6 goals to nothing.
Yeah.
And then the third quarter, we played faster. We tried to handball more, go through the guts more. And it opened us up, but we ended up getting a few goals out the back. Higo, Burnsy, Butler. We moved
And
the
a
ball
few other
well.
opportunities as
Naz
well.
looked
yeah.
good. Hill looked good when the tempo was up.
Yeah.
And then the fourth quarter was a bit of a stalemate. They walk away 59-point winners.
Yeah, because
Um,
I'm pretty pissed off because I had to do a couple of things. Harry Styles was that night, so obviously
I joked about that, but when I saw the highlights of the concert, it looked fucking amazing.
it was incredible.
You must have been like the only dude there. Because I'm watching it on
Yeah, I
the
know,
news.
you can't
and it's
see.
just chicks.
Apart from
mates.
Harry Styles.
Yeah, I was going to say there. I've never seen so many feather boas and sparkly cowboy hats in my life. But I reckon if I go to Mardi Gras, it'll be much the same because that's what it felt like. It just
Yeah.
felt like an open pride festival.
Yeah.
and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like it was just the best atmosphere. Everyone was bouncing along. No one was sitting down in the seats at Marvel. Everyone was up and dancing. He controlled that stadium.
Is
like
that
a
your
master.
first gig at Marvel?
No.
No.
My first gig at Marvel was AC/DC.
Me too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Back in the Runaway Train or whatever it was.
Something silly.
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
The big blow up Rosie came out and
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Mine was
Quite
Queen?
Coldplay.
Oh,
Oh,
Coldplay.
Coldplay. Yeah, that looked cool with all the wristbands and stuff.
My wristband didn't work though. I'm like,
Damn you, Coldplay!
yeah, not ruined.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the best performance I've seen at Marvel since Rui in 2016 when he kicked 9 and had 21 marks against Brisbane.
Yeah,
Let's just say
solid,
that. Yeah.
solid.
But yeah, so I did miss quite a bit of it. I went back and rewatched it, and it just looked like, well, Melbourne didn't get out of second gear, and that was really scary. Like, they just went, okay, we know how to dispatch a football side in 5 minutes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And they just went up a gear, and
It was pretty much a team because they played pretty much full strength.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
I wasn't expecting that.
Nah, well,
I think they're just
I don't
going to
think we
take.
were.
They're looking back on last year and going, let's just get it done again. Like,
Yeah, let's
they're not
dominate.
taking any game for
Yeah.
granted. They're just going to get it done every single week.
Yeah.
Until that big day comes back and they
Yeah.
make amends for last year.
and
That's just the way
watching
they're gonna be.
Grundy and Gawn,
That's scary.
that should have sent shivers around the competition,
Yeah.
really,
And
because
even we looked at it. Well, who was the bulldog they got? Hunter.
Lockie Hunter.
Oh,
yeah.
It's even like that. Like at the Dogs, things didn't work out. We didn't really look at him, even though I think it would have been handy to have someone like him
I
just
think
sit
it
on
was
the
a
wing.
behavioural thing that we...
I know, but then you
yeah.
look at Melbourne and you're like, he's just going to get the job done every week.
They're the fucking system, though. Their
Yeah, so he
system to
plugs
beat.
into that system, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
Yeah.
he takes everything that he's learned over his career at Bulldogs and the best and fairest, and he puts it on the wing instead of Jaden Hunt at Melbourne. And all of a sudden, you've got a running machine in Ed Langdon and Hunt now that can just...
Go up and down.
Oh, not
Yeah.
Hunt, sorry, Hunter.
Hunter, yeah.
That can literally just patrol the wings, and he's a smart footballer.
He's going to be just that. Give it to him 60 out, and he's just going to hit the Ben Browns, hit the Bailey
Yeah, but he's also
Fritches,
going
you
to
know.
be the exit kick. Like he's just he's work smarter, not harder.
Don't worry about him.
Yeah. Anyway, Saints.
Don't
footy.
worry about him. What I did notice of that I thought was a positive, and the physicality in the especially the first two periods.
Yeah.
Especially the first period that we really try to match it with them in terms of just sticking tackles and just putting on hits. Blokes like, say, Hunter Clark, I thought he got involved. He was quite aggressive. And typically, he's not really an aggressive player.
Well, he just keeps getting knocked out.
He puts himself in positions where he's on a one-way ticket to a collision, which is, brave and all of that. But I felt like this was a game where him and quite a few of them were going out with the intent to really go after the opposition.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps something that we haven't really seen from some of those players in recent history.
Yeah,
So
I reckon Hill
that was a
great
bonus.
with that too, applying
Yeah,
pressure.
100%.
Because that's the one thing that Hill's been lacking in his game, and I'm not going to say tackling because he's not built for tackling. Neither
just
was the bloke that was in here before,
Yeah.
and he got through 280 games and All Australian and all of these things. But it's the corralling, it's the pressure, it's the running to get back and help out your teammates, which he was doing really, really well. And the other positive, and I saw it straight away in that first period, was Wanganeen Malira.
Yes.
Oh, he was my highlight of the game.
100%.
Yeah.
Wasn't that exciting? That was Winmar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Winmar off of half back. The darts that he was doing, the intercept marking, he's not afraid of anything.
And some of the synergy between him and Hill, they linked up
that was
really
very
nicely.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the main highlight of that four
That
period.
4 periods there. Yeah, for me as well. That was
Because we only kicked how many goals? About the 6 goals or something.
Yeah, not-
So
Yeah.
the downside obviously is we literally had no forward line.
Yeah.
Trialled Cordy there, like Joey said, and Dukes. That'll never happen again.
And I think you made mention at the game where we're coming out of the back line, and instead of it being a King or a Membry,
Or
it was a
Hayes.
Higgins or a Hayes.
Yeah.
It was Higgins.
Yeah.
You're like, all
Well,
right,
I thought all of our best work was actually done coming out of the back half.
Yeah,
And then it really just stopped. Our midfield was just meh.
Yeah, it
I
was.
can't remember a nice clean clearance.
Yeah.
Steely looked down. I thought Gresh again
Steely-
got a lot of the ball, didn't use it.
Last season did the same thing.
Yeah.
He looks very lackadaisical, and I think I don't know what it is. I'm hoping that that's preservation. I hope he's going, I'm not going to push myself too hard because as soon as round 1 comes, I'm going bang, and he does.
But when you're captain, it's a risk.
That's
It's
exactly
a
right.
big risk because you're sending a message to everyone else. You know, you wouldn't see Rui tell him, like, even just with his body language going, I'm going to take this easy.
Yeah.
Like, you got a new coach.
Correct, and
You've
I
got
think
new
that's
players.
a big...
And Sinks and Steele, they were getting a bit shitty. I heard a few sort of reports that they were getting quite shitty, and you want to see that. And I suppose if you're a high performing player, you do your role like Sinclair. He looks like he's going to another level.
Yeah,
well, the man's a god at the minute.
He looks faster.
He looks faster. He looks stronger. He looks everything that you like to see in a footballer.
Yeah,
but if you put yourself in their Puma Kings for a minute. You're playing out in 33 degrees in a 7-period game against a red-hot Melbourne that are doing whatever they want. Yeah, you're like, you know, how much do you really want to go?
I don't read much into this game at all. I'm really only focused on what we're about to talk about, which is Friday.
Yeah.
That's the only one where I'm like, if the same
that's
happens...
I think we've got more positives to talk about, though, about the...
Oh, well, Caminiti was great.
Let's talk about those 3 periods because Caminiti showed a lot.
I actually didn't see the last 3 because I tapped out. I want to watch that.
Go home and watch it.
Yeah.
You'll see how much work Cooper Sharman put in.
He was...
The bicycle kick goal.
Yeah, I heard about this one.
But
a little bit of salt bait at the end there, you know.
I was in the stands watching that in the Danny Frawley Centre there. Yeah. And, like, the amount of work he had to do before that.
Yes.
Just even jogging or getting to the pack and then handballing and then jogging. It didn't look like a lot of physical work, but it was.
Yeah.
And this is, like, late in the game. So he's pushed hard for 2 quarters there, or 2 periods, whatever you want to call them. And then he's gone the bicycle kick over the top. Like, just class and
all
so
of his
clean.
goals were hard work.
All of them. They were all snaps off running, off tackling, corralling, just like you talked about with Hilly and that. That's all he was doing. He wasn't tackling. He was just zoning and following where that ball was and pressuring.
That seems like Ross Lyon to me.
Yeah, he's got to play.
He's going to shine.
He's got to play every week.
Yeah, and I think he's another one that's going to take a big step this year and become the man rather than becoming the boy that got picked up in the pre-season draft.
Like
he really wants to be a target.
We've lost King. We've lost Membry, all right?
Yeah.
Tallest forward. Not our tallest, but
most
athletic.
Best kick.
So you go Caminiti square. Yeah. Sharman plays the Membry role. That's it.
And
that to me would be a balance.
And like a big positive is that he's not getting, if he does get selected for, say, round 1 and has a big say in our early games, it's not on the back of all those blokes being injured.
No.
In his own right, he was having a really strong pre-season. Correct. So I think he's definitely earned it.
Yeah.
So by all reports and all the trainings that we've been down to and the footage that we're allowed to get to film.
Don't look at me, man.
Naughty boy. But yeah, he's had a monster pre-season. So that's pretty exciting, I think, for Saners.
Sharman, you're talking
about?
Yeah.
Sharman.
Yeah. He's put on some size, I tell
you.
He
has.
Yeah, he's seen him up close. He's a decent unit now,
Yeah.
Sharman. So.
Absolutely. I think Machito Owens is really capturing the role of being the pack buster because he launches with incredible power. Like, he's not the biggest bloke on the field. He will be in time. He's about 6'1", 6'2", or something like that. But he launches into packs, and he finds himself in good positions. So,
he's just got to get that finishing touch.
Yeah, that's exactly
which is still early.
Yeah.
But you look at another bloke that played that day. We haven't mentioned his name yet. Well, I have, but I stuffed
here
it.
He is, yeah.
Filippo?
The Popo.
The Popo boy. The prawn roll.
He smashed the pack, but he's already got that finishing edge. That goal he kicked from 55.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
it's easy, man.
I did see that because there's quite a few replays of it.
But he went up in that pack.
Oh, the chest mark that he took?
Yeah, he took a chest mark.
Unbelievable.
Where did he come from? You know, he was probably the smallest player in that pack. And he's 6'3", don't get me wrong, but size-wise, he just knows where the ball's going to drop.
Yeah.
And speaking of where the ball's going to drop, did you see his action for kicking for goal?
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Max King needs to look at that.
Yeah.
It's just straight through.
Yeah, can we not ruin it, please?
Yeah, just let him be.
Just let him be, and if he gets the jitters...
Ben Dixon, stay out of the DMs. No sliding from you, Ben.
He's off Dicko. Great bloke.
Yeah.
David Rath, you can keep your measuring machine away.
Yeah, that's exactly
Just
right.
let the fella kick.
Let the fella kick. And if he does miss a few, that's all right. He'll get back on track and he'll do his thing.
Yeah.
But
So what are we looking for on Friday based on what we saw last week? What do we want to see? We want to see a bit more of a collective, don't we?
yeah.
Like some sort of chemistry going.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's our last hit out before.
It'd be interesting
Freo.
to see as well. And this bloke came on in the 4th or 5th period. And he's always on my radar. Always on my radar, as you boys and you listeners know. Sebi Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he showed more leadership in those 3 periods than Steele did over those 4.
Yeah, right.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
But he was playing with some younger people, so
Yeah.
it's obviously that, like,
He had
I'm
to be the
sure that
man.
would have been the reason why he played that
Yeah.
period more so than anything else.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just
was
for that course.
That
So-
leadership, yeah.
Whereas Steele's looking around and seeing Crouchy and seeing more established players,
Yeah.
he's probably thinking, well, I don't really need to. These guys know what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Seb's looking around and he's seen some Sandy boys, he's
Yeah.
seen some youngsters.
But Seb's
Vitals.
fighting this year.
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
fighting. Yeah.
For the
So-
rest of his career, he's got to really lift and fight for that spot.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Um,
and that's what I like to see, and that's where Seb Ross plays his best football is when he's fighting.
Yeah.
So
When he's
Keep it
fighting
up.
and when he's the man, because like
Yeah.
he's 20. What was it? 15 or 16? Or you know,
17,
he's best.
All Australian almost. Yeah.
So the man can play footy.
Roaming Joycey, roaming Joycey.
Hey, here we go. Get on
Yeah,
in.
mate.
Get on in.
All
son.
right, so I thought I'd join him on the couch here. Just for those listeners who don't have the visual here, we've just had a bit of a technical issue with one of the cameras. So
Typical.
now,
Typical.
Yeah.
boys, you've got it fucking good.
It's good, yeah.
Nice. Like,
Yeah,
I
I get tired watching you sit up there doing all your swiveling where I can just melt into the couch.
yeah, you guys have got your
Part of
ass
the
crease here.
furniture.
It's quite fun.
I've still got
Wiggle
Joey's here. I can still see
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's it.
Alrighty. Well,
So are we previewing the Essendon game?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not much to preview apart from...
But when we preview games this season, who's it brought to? The fans by?
Oh, we know, by.
Oh.
It's
the Bentley Social.
where our boys and girls of the Bentley Social.
That's it.
That's where we cut our teeth there. You know.
And happy to announce that for everyone that's asked and DM'd about it, we are going to do the disco this year, so that will happen. Details on that will be released in the next month or so, in the lead up.
Because I must admit, I went and I had a bit of a cheeky early foray into the social, where I had enough at Moorabbin for one afternoon. It was too hot, and I'm like, where can I go and get some good food and some cold beers? And that was at the Bentley Social. So I went there for a few cheeky kick-ons, and guess who was having a feed there?
Who?
We didn't bother him. Jack Steele.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. When you went?
Yeah, I was there for a little while longer.
When he came up, he
yeah,
must have
yeah.
rocked up.
So it was.
He's heard through the pod. If Jack Steele is hearing about the Bentley Social through Saints TV,
Steely, you're on the show, mate.
yeah,
We're
it's
waiting
exactly
for you.
right.
That's it.
You've been called out.
I was going to go up and maybe do a little thing and what. Nah, I'll let the fella just eat his smoked goods in peace. So
I definitely would have gone up to him.
Yeah,
I
I
would
know.
have bothered.
Yeah.
I would have said a cheeky hello, like a quick 30 seconds, but
yep.
I couldn't give up an opportunity like that.
Yeah, fair
Or
enough.
maybe I would have got too nervous.
Yeah, I was definitely going for it, but then I've received some counsel from the boys that I was with, and maybe just let the man have a break.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fair
Yeah.
enough. He's had a hot day,
Yeah.
but yeah, up the Bentley Social.
Are we all
Exactly
going on
right.
Friday?
High profile.
Are you going to be there, Joycey, or you got Harry Styles?
On Friday.
Yeah.
For Essendon, I have got a gig, unfortunately.
Yep, fair
and
enough.
that is from 4 till 7.
Yep.
So I'm a bit
Where's your gig?
annoyed. It's at the Prince Alfred Hotel in Richmond. So if you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
Richmond, I don't know if they've got any TVs there. So maybe I'll just click the iPad on. And
Oh, everyone's got a smartphone these days.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'd rather you get down to Moorabbin to watch the Sainers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty packed at the Prince Alfred for Friday knockoffs. So
I've got a bit of feedback. If anyone's listening at the club, I feel like we could do the beers a bit better down there. Have we not learnt anything from our big return for the men's at Moorabbin against Hawthorn? Remember when Lethers had to go to Dan Murphy's because we ran out of beer at like half time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all the Carlton drafts were gone. Yeah.
Gone. Yeah, gone. So there was maybe a similar move on the weekends.
Yeah.
So, and the beer lines, I'm not going to lie, they're 45 minutes.
I'm sure it'll be.
Because when you said the
be
beer
better on
lines were
Friday.
dodgy to me before, I thought you meant like the actual taps were a bit sour.
No,
and they needed to clean,
nah.
But it was the lines for beer.
Lines for beer.
Because at the Hawthorn game, it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
really
They
quick.
just couldn't keep up.
They just couldn't keep up. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So-
But when you're at Moorabbin, and of course we promote responsible alcohol here because
We
of
do.
course now
Of
we got
course.
Mornington Peninsula Brewery and we're sitting down. I'm still on my first, and
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving it. Like that draft beer.
It is really nice.
I didn't expect that because I'm not too much into my craft beers, but this Mornington Peninsula draft goes down as smooth as a Carlton.
This is beer that just tastes like regular beer. I love it.
You're selling it, boys.
It's really
Full
good.
cream, high calcium, high fat.
Extra dollop.
Yeah. Something 2% fat.
I saw that.
Anyway,
This is we've lost the
try
plot here.
and wrap things up here. I feel like we're in a bit of an interview situation here now.
I feel like we have to act up on the couch now that you've come to join us.
That's
So-
exactly
I know, I'm
right,
a bit
we're getting
nervous.
rowdy.
I'm the student where it's like the teacher's like, all right, who am I going to pick to talk next? And I'm like, no, you fuck.
Yeah, just hiding your eyes. Yeah.
Jake, what are you on?
Oh no, please no.
But yeah, 100th episode. Yeah, I guess we want to thank everyone.
Yeah, spot on. Thank you. What a
for
great way to
tuning
wrap it up
in.
with us three here on the couch as well.
That's it. Yeah, from the studio in was it Richmond? I think we did the first little sort of audition tape with
Yep.
the Horde, or with what were they called at the time? Podula. That's
Podula.
their original name.
So we're back with the Horde.
Yeah, so we're teamed up with them again.
Is their
Sportsmate
agent?
as well.
Yep.
And yeah, obviously Mornington Peninsula Brewery, and then obviously the Bentley Social. So we want to thank them, but also most importantly our listeners, the fans of Saints TV as well that have made this a big part of the channel.
Yeah.
I keep saying it all the time. I thought this would be a little thing, and that the videos and the reviews would take care of themselves. But this has been growing year on year, and last year we all know how big it went.
Yeah, our heads
And-
have definitely grown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You should see the Godfather swagger around the outers
piss
of
off.
Moorabbin. Getting photos.
It's the Batoni wing at Moorabbin, yeah.
It really is.
That little grassy knoll.
Oh,
I still get a bit shy when I'm walking past and someone's like, Godfather? I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's a
no.
thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
People
The
actually
amount of
say that.
whiplash all these poor people that just want to go and watch a game of football, they're coming home with whiplash when they walk past the Godfather. They're like, oh, it's Jake.
Yeah, and I'll be there Friday. So if you want to say hi, just come up and say hi, Jake. How's it going?
Yeah.
Get a
I'll
selfie.
take a pic if you want.
I've had a heap of people at gigs come up to me.
Have they?
Just random ones, like it'll be
Yeah.
a random wedding or a function, and they'll come over here, Joyce, hey! I'll be like, that's good. People are watching our YouTube.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nah, we love it, and love doing it. Honestly, like
Yeah. Nah,
getting
you guys are
Joey,
bloody
getting more
awesome.
guests on. That's the plan. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
We're a tight-knit crew, us Saints supporters, so thank you all very, very much. I think we'll wrap it up there.
I've got a
unless
minute.
Marshy's got a minute.
Got a minute. I've got a
a
minute.
minute.
Did I do a jingle for that?
You did. It was,
Yeah,
it was a dope one.
Yeah, so we're gonna. Is this a premiere? No, we did it last season.
You did it
Yeah, you
last
played it
season.
with Sinks, I think.
It was the last episode.
Yeah. It was
Oh,
Last
yeah, that's
episode
right,
we
the
did it.
Christmas
so,
one.
Yeah, we're gonna put that in here.
Yeah.
Mosh's minute. Mosh's minute. Mosh's minute. Mosh's minute.
So the other day, last week I think it might have been, I put my new stickers on, the member stickers on the back of the car.
On the phone as well.
Yeah, on the phone,
Yeah, give it a bit of a glimpse, Schnoz.
So I put the women's and the men's stickers on the car, and because I put the two on top of each other, I never really tap into the other stickers. It's always just the horizontal ones, but to make it all one big block, I just whacked on another sticker. Anyways, so that day, later on that day, I'm driving down South Road, and who do I see in the car behind me at the lights? Because you always check to see what's going on around.
Yeah.
And it's none other than our senior coach, Nick Del Santo.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I gave him the thumbs up, and he's like, hey, yeah. And then I gave him the single cobra. And
Of course you did. You love bringing out the Cobra.
yeah, the single cobra pointedly the women's membership, and
Yeah.
gave it a big thumbs up. He was pretty happy, and I reckon he was on his phone. He's on the hands free, and I dead said I reckon his mouth something to the effect like he's probably what's going on there? He's like some fucking Saints fan. And then anyways, as we're driving, I'm veering right. He's going straight towards the club. And, the great man gave us the old, how do you do out the window as he's going past. And
love it.
It's just Saints footy.
That's Saints footy.
Love
and that's
it.
probably the reason that little lip read there is probably the reason you didn't go up and talk to Jack Steele.
Yeah.
Because you thought you would have copped the same reaction.
Yeah, just leave them be. They know it's Saints footy town. So, get your stickers on your car and never know who you're going to bump into. Because I would have been a little bit dirty that I wouldn't have been able to offer that flex if I hadn't had particularly like the chick sticker up on the car. So it was nice.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
Alrighty. Well, to end the episode on a Marshy's Minute, always entertaining. Thank you, Saints fans. That's 100 episodes for us in our 150th year as a football club.
That's
We've got
it.
the preview for the 150th anniversary game on Friday night, so hopefully all the boys turn up and do us proud. Can't wait for it. We'll be back with a review.
See you then.
Ciao.
My Saints footy, and I love the feeling, so does the family. Oh yeah, Saints footy, Saints footy, Saints footy, Saints footy.